What comes to your mind if you say Shintoism? Before I learn about Shintoism, when it comes to my mind, it's just like a religion. I don't know anything about Shintoism before I learned about it. Greetings everyone, this is our presentation about Shintoism. But before we proceed, I would like to show you a video about Shintoism so you will have an idea about what Shintoism is.
Curiosity Stream. Get access to Nebula, a video streaming service made by your favorite educational creators when you sign up for Curiosity Stream using the link in the description. This is a torii gate, one of the most recognizable symbols of Japan, alongside the cherry blossom and this electric mouse. Torii are also a sacred gateway in Shintoism, the indigenous religious practice of Japan. Even with an over 2,000-year history, Shinto has never been easy to define. The word Shinto wasn't even used much until the 17th century. But Shinto has its own shrines, priests, gods and rituals, everything you'd expect from a religion. But today, while over 80% of Japanese people participate in Shinto practices, only 3 to 4% identify themselves as believers in Shinto. And many Japanese people practice Shinto alongside Buddhism without any sense of contradiction. So, what is Shinto? Why are sumo wrestlers so salty? And what can the god of hair do for you? Well, let's find out. In the beginning, there was nothing but formless chaos. Over eons, the lighter particles of this chaos rose and became heaven, and the heavier ones fell and formed the earth, which was then a muddy ocean. Between these realms, 3 heavenly beings, or kami, formed. They were followed by 7 more generations of kami. The 7th generation of these kami were a man and woman pair known as Izanagi and Izanami, who descended down to give form to the earth. Izanagi and Izanami took a heavenly spear and stirred up the ocean below, which created an island, the first land. Izanagi and Izanami decided to live on this island and very soon felt the need to have children. So they got down to making babies the good old-fashioned way, by erecting a large ceremonial pillar and performing a marriage ritual by walking around the pillar in opposite directions, and when they met on the other side, Izanami greeted Izanagi first, which resulted in the birth of a boneless and limbless child, who they then very quickly put on a boat and pushed off into the sea. But don't worry, he turns out mostly fine. He grows some bones, he becomes the kami of good luck and fisherman, and even has his own brand of beer now. They decided to give the ritual another go, with Izanagi speaking first, and from this union the islands of Japan were born, along with more kami such as the kami of wind, the kami of mountains and the kami of grass. Finally, Izanami gave birth to the god of fire and died, because, well, she had just given birth to a baby made of fire. Izanagi, in his grief, killed the baby, cutting it up into pieces, which then became the volcanoes of Japan, and some other kami, like the dragon Watatsumi and the storm god and first sumo wrestler Takemekiruchi. Also at this point there was some human waste kind of just lying around, and from that some more kami were born, like the adorable clay kami couple Haniyasu Hiko and Haniyasu Hime. And obviously sad and lonely Izanagi wanted to see Izanami again, and so he descended to Yomi, the gloomy, polluted underworld. He found Izanami down there, and when he shone a light on her, he saw that his wife was a decaying, rotten corpse. Izanagi bolted, which enraged Izanami, who sent an army of demons after him. But as he escaped the underworld, he sealed the door with a giant boulder, protecting the living world from the world of death. The obviously furious Izanami cursed him and promised to kill 1,000 people a day in revenge. Izanagi promised to make sure that 1,500 people were born every day. Izanagi, covered in the pollution from the underworld, wanted to purify himself, so he found the river to perform misoyi, or purification. As he washed, kami were born from the clothes he took off, and from each part of his body that he washed. Finally, he washed his face. When he did this, he created the most important kami, called the 3 precious children. From washing his left eye came Amaterasu Omikami, kami of the sun. From washing his right eye came Tsukuyomi no Mikoto, kami of the moon. And from washing his nose came Sa no Mikoto, kami of storms. This is a simplified version of the Japanese creation story as told in the oldest surviving texts of Japanese history and myth, the Kojiki and the Nihonsuki, written in the 8th century. This story introduces us to some of the most important aspects of Shinto, such as kami and purification. We don't know much about Shinto's origins because Shinto has no founders like the Buddha, no prophets like Muhammad, or holy books like the Bible that tell us how it started. But archaeological evidence suggests that practices which could be called Shinto, like the worship of nature spirits in sacred spaces, first appear in Japan in the Yayoi period around 300 BCE to 300 CE. The word Shinto comes from these two Chinese characters. Shin, which means God or spirit, the native Japanese word for which is kami, and this character, Do, which means way. This Do or way is the same as the one in Taoism and tells us a lot about Shinto. It's a way of life, a practice, more concerned with rituals and community than with belief, faith, or moral codes. Literally, Shinto is the way of the gods, or in Japanese, the way of the kami. But what exactly is a kami? Kami. To put it simply, Shinto is the worship of kami. The typical translation of kami into English is God or deity, but that's not a great translation. Kami can be spirits of the landscape, forces of nature, and the spirits of dead ancestors. Anything in this world that fills you with a sense of wonder or awe can be a kami. It isn't difficult to see how the ancient Japanese, living in a wondrous world of massive live volcanoes, surging rivers, powerful waterfalls, and vast forests, felt that they lived in a world that was fully alive and aware and inhabited by kami. In Shinto, the physical world itself is sacred, worthy of respect, and you can have a relationship with it. So kami can be godlike, such as the sun goddess Amaterasu, but the concept also extends to other natural phenomena like mountains, rains, foxes, and earthquakes. Smallpox has a kami, and so does fertility, and growth, and rice, and even hair has its own humble kami. In Shinto, there is no one all-powerful god, and instead the universe is watched over by the harmonious cooperation of the kami who live in this world alongside humans, and generally want them to be happy and prosperous. It's a cycle of reciprocity. Humans respect the kami, and the kami take care of the humans. Kamis are expressions of musubi, which is the creative energy of the universe, and also a kind of spam-based sushi. But the spiritual, non-spam-based musubi literally means to unite. It ties everyone and everything in the universe together, and so everything is interconnected. The landscape, nature, the kami, humans, all of them are considered to be always growing in the process of creation. Kami are not all-powerful or all-knowing, and are invisible and immaterial, but they can live inside certain objects in shrines. Kami can also have personalities. They can be beneficial or malevolent, and you can interact with them. This communication comes in the form of prayer and offering sacrifices such as food. The Japanese worship of kami is a way to maintain a sacred relationship with their surroundings. While some kami, like Inari, the kami of rice, are worshipped across Japan, many kami are deeply local, like the kami of a specific village, family, or waterfall, like the kami of Nachi Falls. A single individual tree might even have a kami. For example, when the Kayashima railway station needed to expand, locals protested against the chopping down of this tree because it housed a kami, and so the station had to be built around it. Failing to perform the correct rituals or disrespecting kami can lead to punishment called shinbatsu, usually in the form of illness. Most kami are good, but some kami, like the Magatsuhi no kami, the kami of disaster, are essentially destructive and cause misfortune. But luckily, Naobi no kami, the kami of undisaster, is tasked with cleaning up after Magatsuhi no kami's destruction. There are also the yokai, weird and wonderful, mischievous monsters that pop up in Japanese mythology. These can range from terrifying, soul-devouring demons down to the tofu kozu, a baby with a massive head that follows you around, constantly offering you tofu. There are said to be 8 million kami, which is just the Japanese way of saying an uncountable amount. Certain important humans can be considered kami both before and after death, like Tenjin, a 10th century scholar who was so smart that he became the kami of academics after dying, and who worried students will pray to for luck in passing exams. Or like the Emperor of Japan, who from the Meiji period was considered a live-in kami until renouncing his divinity after Japan's surrender in the Second World War. Purity. If anything can be called the central ritual of Shinto, it is purification. Referred to in general as harai, the purpose of purification is to remove spiritual pollution, which is called tsumi or kegarai. This pollution is anything that separates someone from the creative musubi nature of all kami. Kegarai polluters include things like death, disease, filth, and blood, while tsumi involves actions like crime, murder, disrespecting your parents, and not smickety smashing the lickety like button. Pollution is only temporary in Shinto, and humans are not considered naturally impure, so it's not like sin in other religions. Shinto doesn't actually preach you any ethics, and it has no reward-based heaven or punishment-based hell. In Shinto, nature is inherently good, and impurity is an abnormality that can be cleansed with a ritual. Impurity must be removed before interacting with a kami in rituals or prayer. That's why at the entrance of almost all Shinto shrines, you'll see a tank of water with wooden ladles. People use this to perform a form of harai called timizu. You wash your left hand, then your right hand, and then you pour water into your hand and use that to rinse out your mouth. Don't drink from the ladle, and for the love of Amaterasu, don't spit the water back into the basin. Spit it on the floor. More extreme versions of harai are called misoyi. Misoyi includes bathing in the ocean or even standing under a waterfall. Harai can also be performed with salt. In that case, it's called shubatsu. You can see this purification happen at the beginning of a sumo match, when the salt is spread around the ring to keep out impurity. One other form of purification ritual involves waving a wand or a harigushi over the thing being purified, like a person or even a new car, or over a plot of land before construction begins to purify it and bring good fortune. Shrines. The most recognizable aspect of Shinto is the shrines. There are over 100,000 shrines in Japan today, from the Grand Shrine at Ise, where the Sun Kami Amaterasu Omikami is worshipped as the ancestor of the imperial family, to the humble Mikami Jinja in Kyoto, the only shrine for the worship of Kamikami, the kami of hair. At this shrine, you'll hear the prayers of those wishing to be cured from baldness. This hair kami was actually a man once called Masayuki Fujiwara, who was apparently such a spectacular hairdresser that he became the kami of hair after his death. A shrine can be any place where a kami lives and interacts with humans. So shrines can be architectural masterpieces like the Grand Shrine at Ise, or simple roadside shrines, forest shrines, or household shrines. Kami aren't bound to just one shrine and can be enshrined in a number of different places. At the heart of a Shinto shrine is the Go Shintai, an object that a kami lives in but is not the kami itself. It's typically a ritual object like mirrors, swords, and jewels, although one Go Shintai at a shrine in Yokohama is an industrial robot. They can also be trees, rocks, or even a mountain, like Mount Miwa, which is the Go Shintai for the rain kami Onononushi. Shinto shrines are taken care of by Shinto priests known as kanushi, and the shrines are typically surrounded by forests, parks, or mountains, which today provide large green spaces in modern Japanese cities. The most important building inside of a shrine is the honden or main hall, which contains the Go Shintai and is closed to the public. In front of the honden is the haiden, or hall of worship, where the public can worship and participate in rituals. A shrine also generally has torii gates, marking the entrance between the sacred area of the shrine and the secular outside world. You bow before a torii gate before entering to show respect to the kami. The most famous torii are the numerous torii gates at the Fushime Inari Taisha, the main shrine of the rice kami Inari. Now, you only have to bow at the first torii gate because otherwise you would just never get to the shrine. A shrine may be missing any of these features though. For example, Omiwa Jinja at Mount Miwa has no honden, since the mountain itself is the Go Shintai. This is the most ancient form of shrine, built to worship the natural world itself. At a shrine, you may see a rock or tree, or even the shrine itself, surrounded by a ritual rope called the shimenawa. The shimenawa encircles sacred space, keeps it pure, and wards off evil spirits. A shimenawa is worn by sumo wrestlers of the highest rank, as they are considered to be a yorishiro, a vessel capable of housing a kami and becoming a Go Shintai. Shinto shrines are all accepting, and so anyone can visit. When visiting a shrine, you first walk through a torii gate, you then proceed to the kyosubachi to do the temizu purification of the hands and mouth. To worship the kami, you throw a coin, usually a 5 yen coin, into the offering box. Then you bow twice, then you clap twice, then you say your prayer, followed by another bow to thank the kami. After your prayer, you can purchase an amulet or a charm for good luck, or even an omikuji, a piece of paper that is kind of like a fortune lottery that contains good or bad fortunes concerning things like health, business, and marriage. You'll see leftover ones hanging from trees at shrines, as people will leave behind omikuji with bad predictions as a way to leave that fortune in the hands of the kami. Festivals. Shrines are also the center of matsuri, or festivals. At matsuri, you might see purifications, prayers, and food offerings called shinzen, and cheerful community activities like the makoshi, where the kami is literally carried around the community, sometimes even being carried into the ocean as an act of purification. You might also see contests like sumo, horse archery, and traditional performances like the kagura dance or no theater. One large matsuri is the Hatsumode, the first visit to a Shinto shrine or Buddhist shrine on Japanese New Year, typically between the 1st and 3rd of January. It is estimated that up to 80% of Japanese people take part in this festival. Some people even travel through the night in order to be at the shrine as New Year begins, or to view the sunrise from a mountaintop shrine. Festival goers enjoy the trip with family, friends, they eat seasonal foods, drink sake, and return old amulets for ritual burning and buy new amulets for the new year. A much smaller but equally interesting festival is the Nakisumo, or Korean Sumo Festival, held in May, where 2 enormous sumo wrestlers rock tiny babies in their arms, the winner being the one whose baby cries first. The babies then receive blessings for good health and fortune. For most of its history, Japan has been an archipelago of belief, with heavy influence from across East Asia. One of the largest impacts of Chinese influence was the introduction of Buddhism to Japan around the 6th century CE. Buddhism and Shinto essentially fused together over the 1,000 years after Buddhism entered Japan, in a process called Shimbutsu Shugo. Shinto shrines and Buddhist temples were normally built alongside each other. Kami were taken up into the Buddhist worldview, and Buddhas were considered to be kami. This mixture of Japanese belief and general East Asian beliefs can be seen in this statement from the Edo period. It is each man's duty to believe in the kami, the Buddha, and the teachings of Confucius. For the majority of its history, Shinto was not an organized religion, but was instead the folk religion of Japan that was practiced with great diversity across the islands, alongside Buddhism and other beliefs. Starting in the 17th century, some thinkers began to want to go back to a hypothetical pure Japanese culture. They referred to this study of Japaneseness as kokugaku, or national studies. The kokugaku scholars wanted to try and remove all non-Japanese influence from Japanese culture. In the mid-19th century, the Emperor Meiji took control of Japan, and Meiji wanted to create a modern nation-state with all the fancy things Western nations were doing at the time, like nationalism and colonial empires. He liked the ideas of the Kokugaku scholars and wanted to create a culturally united and pure Japanese Japan. Shinto would become a nationalistic tool. Up until this period, Shinto wasn't really understood as a religion. The word Shinto kind of just meant Japanese religious practice that wasn't Buddhist. These nationalistic reforms banned all combinations of Buddhist temples and Shinto shrines. Meiji also created the Shrine Bureau, which nationalized the hundreds of thousands of community-managed shrines and brought them under the control of the state. Shinto practice was then directed towards the worship of the imperial family, who were seen as the divine descendants of the sun goddess Amaterasu, and the emperor was worshipped as a living kami. This state Shinto became the belief system in Japan during the first half of the 20th century, and became a key aspect of the nationalist and imperialist direction that Japan went in before and during the Second World War, and so remains controversial up until today. After the war, the emperor was forced to renounce his divine nature, that he was not a living kami, which he kind of did. It's complicated. Another part of this was to sever the connection between the state and the shrines. Shinto was formally separated from the state and from state funding, and now the non-governmental Association of Shinto Shrines oversees Shinto shrines. That was very difficult to say. That was a lot of S's in a very short space of time. Today, over 80% of Japanese people participate in Shinto rituals, but still the majority say that they don't belong to any religion. The common saying within the religious landscape of Japan is Shinto weddings, Buddhist funerals. Even after Meiji's attempt to separate them, Buddhism and Shinto in Japan remain intertwined in everyday life. Except in the case of priests, most Japanese people practice both Shinto and Buddhism. Shinto rituals tend to be centered around this world and life events, and finding ways to respectfully live with the kami and other human beings. People go to a Shinto shrine after the birth of a child, or at a wedding, or for success in studies and business. Over time, Buddhism has taken over the afterlife aspect of religion, and today funerals and memorials are generally Buddhist. Japanese people easily combine Shinto and Buddhism in their daily lives. Shinto is still a practice that offers a way for people to connect with the environment around them and perform respectful rituals towards nature, family, and their community. Shinto continues to pop up across Japanese culture, from respect for dead ancestors to Pokemon to Studio Ghibli films and to the nation's unique relationship with nature. In Japan, Shinto continues to be more than a religion. It's a way of life, a part of the country and its people. There's just something gorgeous about the landscape of Japan that brings about a sense of wonder and awe. Something that really hit me when I was watching Hidden Japan over on CuriosityStream. It has beautiful shots of the Japanese landscape, people, and these monkeys who are just chilling in a hot tub. It's adorable. What more could you want? Doesn't matter, we're gonna give you more anyway, because Kogito and a bunch of our creator friends got together and made their own platform called Nebula, which is partnered with CuriosityStream.
The video just ended. So, do you have an idea about what Shintoism is? Yeah, I know it's quite confusing right now, but here's my group to help you, to show you, and to present to you what is Shintoism. They will explain it detail by detail. Kim Chester Garcia will discuss to you the introduction of Shintoism.
Hello everyone, my name is Kim Chester A. Garcia and I am here with you today to discuss about the religion Shintoism. Shintoism, Shinto, known as the Power of the Gods, it is the native belief system of the Japanese population and has existed since the inception of Japan. It continues to be one of the primary religions in Japan, alongside Buddhism. Ang Shintoism ang pinakakatutubong paniniwala ng mga tao sa Japan, at isa rin ito sa mga pangunahing relihiyon sa Japan, kasama nito ang Buddhism. In Shintoism, Shinto lacks a specific founder and does not possess revered texts, like the sutras or the Bible. Unlike religions that emphasize propaganda or preaching, Shinto is firmly intertwined with Japanese culture and customs. Unlike ng ibang mga religion na mayroong founder or mga teksto, tulad ng Christianity na meron silang Hesus Kristo at ang Bible, ang Shintoism ay walang known founder at wala rin silang mga teksto. And unlike din ng ibang mga religion na nag-emphasize ng propaganda or preaching, they are more intertwined with their culture and customs, meaning mas konektado sila sa kanilang kultura. Deities or gods in Shinto are referred to as kami. They are embodied sacred spirits manifesting in elements and principles vital to life, including wind, rain, mountains, trees, rivers, and fertility. Upon death, individuals can become kami, honored by their families as ancestral spirits. Some exceptional individuals are even enshrined as kami in certain shrines. Among them, the sun goddess Amaterasu is considered to be the Shinto's most important kami. In Shintoism, ang tawag nila sa kanilang mga god ay kami. They are embodied sacred spirits manifesting in elements and principles vital to life, including wind, rain, mountain, trees, rivers, and fertility. Upon death or sa kanilang kamatayan, merong mga individuals na pwedeng maging kami. Ino-honor sila ng kanilang pamilya bilang kanilang mga ancestors. At meron ding ibang mga individuals na ginagawa ng sarili nilang mga shrine, tulad na lang ng the sun goddess Amaterasu na kinoconsider na pinaka-importanteng kami sa Shintoism. Unlike numerous monistic religions, Shinto lacks absolute. It doesn't adhere to concepts of absolute right or wrong, nor does it idealize perfection in individuals. Shinto holds an optimistic view regarding humans as inherently good, with evil attributed to malevolent spirits. As a result, most Shinto rituals aim to ward off evil spirits through purifications, prayers, and offerings to the kami. Hindi tulad ng iba-ibang mga monistic religions, ang Shinto ay walang konsepto ng absolute right or wrong. Naniniwala sila ng mga tao ay inherently good, meaning natural na mabuti ang mga tao. At naniniwala naman sila na ang mga masama o ang mga evil ay mga malevolent spirits. As a result dito, gumagamit sila ng purification, prayers, and offerings sa mga kami para ma-prevent or mapalayo ang mga masamang spirits. Shinto shrines serve as both places of worship and home for the kami. Ang mga Shinto shrine naman, ginagawa nilang lugar ng pag-worship at tahanan na rin ng mga kami or ng kanilang mga god. Many shrines hold festivals or matsuri regularly to offer glimpses of the outside world to the kami. Shinto priests conduct rituals and often reside on shrine premises. Both men and women can become priests, and they are permitted to marry and have families. During rituals and shrine duties, priests are assisted by younger women known as miko, who wear white kimono, must be unmarried, and are frequently the daughters of the priests themselves. That's all for the introduction of Shintoism. Ngayon, dadako naman tayo sa history ng Shinto, at ang magbabahagi naman sa inyo ng impormasyon ay ang aking kaibigan na si Lolito.
Let's dive into the fascinating world of Shinto, Japan's ancient religion. Picture this, around 1,500 years ago, people in Japan started calling their native beliefs Shinto to set them apart from other religions, like Buddhism and Confucianism from China. Now, back then, Buddhism got pretty popular, and it mixed in with Shinto beliefs. But in the late 700s and early 800s, a wise teacher came along and blended Buddhism and Shinto even more. This made Buddhism even more important, but some Shinto tradition hung around. Fast forward to the 17th, an influential scholar like Mabuchi Materi Narinaga and Hirata Atsutane were like, hey, let's make Shinto important again. They wanted to celebrate Japan fast, which paved the way for Buddhism to decline and Shinto to become the main religion. In 1867, Japan's government changed. The emperor became the big leader again. According to Shinto, the emperor was chosen by gods, especially the sun goddess. This idea made people think Japan was super special because to their countries. Now, let's talk about myths. Japanese myths are like really old stories that explain how things came to be. One of the big ones tells us how Japan itself was formed by divine beings who later ruled the world. Before they show up, Japan was a bit of a mess. In these myths, even plants and animals could talk and move around because everything has divine spirit called kami in Shinto beliefs. For example, the sun goddess came down from the sky to make things orderly for humans to live in Japan. This story also explains why Japan has a hierarchy system of governance, like with the emperor being seen as chosen by the divine. And pay attention to the details, like in the story of Izagani and Izanami, were messing up the order of speech during their union led to a not so perfect child. It shows how important it is to follow social rules and manners in different situations. So, these myths aren't just cool stories, they teach us about Japan's history, culture, and values, and they remind us to be respectful and well-behaved in our own lives too.
Ephraim will discuss to you the beliefs and kami of Shintoism.
Shinto is an indigenous religion of Japan with its roots deeply embedded in the country's history, culture, and natural landscape. Central to Shinto beliefs is the veneration of kami, which can be loosely translated as spirits, deities, or sacred forces. Here are the central beliefs of Shinto, including the veneration of kami. First, we will tackle about the kami. Kami are revered as sacred beings that inhabit natural elements such as mountains, rivers, trees, and even human ancestors or historical figures. They are seen as both immanent and transcendent forces that embody the spiritual essence of the natural world. Kami can manifest in various forms and have diverse attributes representing different aspects of life, nature, and human experiences. Secondly, harmony with nature. Shinto emphasizes living in harmony with nature and respecting the sanctity of the natural world. Nature is revered as sacred and imbued with spiritual significance, with kami residing in natural phenomena and landscapes. Rituals and ceremonies in Shinto often involve purification, rites, and offering to honor and appease kami and maintain balance in natural order. Next is the cyclical view of life. Shinto espouses a cyclical view of life where birth, growth, and death and rebirth are interconnected and part of the continuous cycle. Rituals and ceremonies mark significant life events such as birth, coming of age, marriage, and death, reflecting the rhythm of nature and the passage of time. Ancestor veneration is an integral aspect of Shinto, with reverence for ancestors as kami and a continuation of familial ties beyond death. Next, we will move about purity and impurity. Shinto places importance on purity and cleanliness both physically and spiritually. Ritual purification such as washing hands and mouth before entering sacred spaces is practiced to clean impurities and show reverence to kami. Impurities can be caused by moral wrongdoings, illness, or contact with death, and purification rituals are performed to restore spiritual harmony. Some impurities examples are women's menstruation. And we will move on to the last, which is connection to traditional and culture. Shinto is deeply intertwined with Japanese culture, traditions, and festivals, shaping societal norms and customs. Shrines and sacred sites dedicated to kami are integral parts of the Japanese landscape, serving as centers for religious rituals, community gatherings, and cultural celebrations. Shinto influences various aspects of Japanese lives, including art, architecture, literature, and performing arts. For our conclusion, the veneration of kami lies at the heart of Shinto beliefs, emphasizing reverence for sacredness of nature, the interconnectedness of life, and the importance of living in harmony with the natural world and spiritual forces.
Denzel Bartolome will discuss to you the Shinto shrines.
Shinto Shrine Jinja. In the Shinto religion of Japan, a jinja refers to the site where deity's spirit in house are called upon. Traditionally, these sites were situated in area of remarkable natural beauty, but nowadays, urban shrines are more prevalent, whether they expensive, complex, or small. Insuspicious roadside site of worship. Hoden. The Hoden, also known as Shiden, serve as a primary sanctuary where a deity spirit is housed, typically accessible only the priests. Heiden. The Heiden, known as the Hall of Worship, is where devotees gather to worship and offer prayers. In larger shrine, there might be other buildings like the Kagura Den for ceremonial dance, the Shamusho for administrative purpose, the Temisuya for cleansing before worship, as well as a statue of guardian animals, Komanyu, the stone or bronze lantern, Toro, given as an offering. The sacred areas is typically marked by entrance gateway called Tori. Tori gates. Tori gates symbolize the boundary separating the everyday world from the sacred realm of Shinto religions, serving as entrance into the sacred space of shrine. These gates marks the traditional transition into the shrine holiest area. Some shrine features multiple gates, each successive gate marking entry into the increasing sacred space.
Michaela will discuss to you the Shinto rituals and festivals.
Shinto rituals and festival. Shinto doesn't adhere to a weekly religious gathering. Instead, individuals visit shrines at their own convenience. Many may choose to visit on the 1st and the 15th of each month or during special rites and festivals, held multiple times a year. Some devout followers may opt to pay their respects at their shrine every morning. Most Shinto festivals follow a similar pattern. During big events like the annual festival, there might be special ceremonies such as water purification, spending time in the shrine for prayers, procession with the sacred palanquin or boats, festival meals, sumo wrestling, horseback riding, archery, lion dances, and rice planting festival. The first Shintoism festival is called Shichigo-san. Shichigo-san is traditionally a rite passage of celebration in Japan that honors children who reach the age of 3 to 5 and 7, held annually on November 15. The name Shichigo-san literally translates to 753 in English. Ayun yung nire-represent nung name na yon, diba? In English, it's called 753 and ayun din yung age na ino-honor ng mga bata na nagre-reach ng 3 to 5, 7 years old. The ceremony has its roots on the Heian. So when these kids reach the age of 3 to 5, 7 years old, they are dressing in their finest clothes and brought to shrines to give thanks to their growth and to pray for their continued health and prosperity. Shichigo-san remains an important cultural event, especially in Shintoism. So, etong event na to is nagre-remain siya dahil it is one of the most important cultural events sa Shintoism. Family often dress their children in traditional kimono attire, with girls of age 3 to 7 years old, elaborate and colorful kimono with obi. Obi means sash, while boys of age 5 wear traditional hakama, the wide-leg pants. During the Shichigo-san celebration, families visit Shinto shrines to offer prayers and blessings for their children's health and the future well-being. It is also time for families to take formal photographs, like nagtitake sila ng picture wearing the attire, the formal attire, kasi ayun yung first time nung mga children na nag-reach ng age na yon na makapagsuot ng kimono attire or which is the proper attire sa Shintoism festival. Shintoism festival is the Obon Festival. It is also known as the Bon Festival. It is a traditional Japanese Buddhist event held annually to honor the spirits of one's ancestors. It is a time for families to come together, clean the graves of their ancestors, and offer food and prayers. So, yung Bon Festival or Obon Festival is similar siya sa parang undas sa atin tuwing November naman yung atin. Pero yung kanila, it is celebrated as festival. So parang undas lang din siya sa atin na yung family nagagather, nagdadala sila ng food, ng bulaklak, and then nililinis nila yung puntod nung pumanaw na ancestors nila sa sementeryo or sa templo. And also, according to common belief, the spirits of ancestors come back home during this period called Obon, a time set aside to appreciate life and one's heritage. Obon is observed around the 15th day of the 7th month of the year, which is July according to solar calendar.
And I will discuss to you the purification and the rituals of Shintoism. Shintoism, Japan's indigenous religion, incorporates various purification rituals aimed at cleansing impurities and maintaining harmony with the kami, spirits or gods, believed to inhabit all things. These purification rituals are crucial elements of Shinto practices and are often performed at shrines, homes, or before important ceremonies. Here are some common purification practices and rituals in Shintoism. Number 1. Misogi. Misogi is a ritual purification involving the purification of the body with the water. Participants typically stand under a waterfall, in a river, or in a special basin called the Mizuya. At the shrine, that water is considered to cleanse impurities and bring about spiritual renewal. Number 2. Hand washing. Before entering a shrine, it is customary for visitors to purify themselves by washing their hands and rinsing their mouths with water using ritualistic process called tebzu. This symbolizes the removal of impurities before approaching the sacred space. Number 3. Purification through fire. Fire is considered a purification element in Shintoism. In some rituals, participants may pass their hands or entire bodies over flame to purify themselves over entering the sacred areas or participating in ceremonies. Number 4. Salt purification. Salt, believed to possess purifying properties, is commonly used in Shinto rituals. It is often scattered around the ritual space or offered to the kami as form of purification. Offerings and prayers. Offering of food, sake or rice wine, or other items made to kami as acts of reverence and purification. Prayers are also offered to the kami, seeking their blessing and purification. Number 6. Shrine visit. Visiting Shinto shrines, especially during festivals or on special occasion, is considered a form of purification. By paying respect to the kami and participating in shrine rituals, individuals seek spiritual cleansing and renewal. Number 7. Harai. Harai refers to various purification rituals performed by Shinto priests to cleanse individual objects or space impurities. This ritual may involve prayers, offerings, and symbolic action to appease the kami and restore the spiritual balance. Number 8. Shimenawa. Shimenawa are sacred ropes made of rice straw or hemp that are used to demarcate the sacred spaces and objects in Shintoism. They are often hung around trees, rocks, or entrance gates to a shrine as form of purification and protection. These purification rituals and practices in Shintoism play a significant role in maintaining the spiritual purity, sparing harmony with nature, and expressing the reverence for the kami. They are deeply ingrained in Shinto culture and continue to be observed by practitioners in Japan around the world. And that is all for purification and rituals. And Abigail Sardillo will discuss the priests and the priestesses of the Shintoism.
Shinto priests and priestesses. The topmost position among the clergy in Shintoism is held by the Guji, or chief priest. In larger shrines, he is typically assisted by the Gon Guji, or associate chief priest, the Negi, priest or senior priest, and the Gon Negi, or junior priest. At the Grand Shrine of Ise, the Saishu, or the chief of the religious ceremonies, holds a higher rank than even the supreme priest known as a Dai Guji. Historically, the Saishu position was exclusively held by non-married princes of the imperial family, who dedicated themselves fully to the religious rituals, or matsuri of the Ise shrine. Priests are permitted to marry and have families, and women can also enter the priesthood. With widows often succeeding their husbands, they are financially supported by offerings from parishioners and worshippers. In contemporary Japan, another term for Shinto priests is kanushi, originally denoting a head priest who through purification practices become qualified to act as a conduit for a deity. Ang mga tungkulin daw ng mga Shinto priests or priestesses ay nagsasagawa sila ng mga ritual or pagbibigay ng guidance sa mga naniniwala or worshippers, and kung paano na papanatili ang shrine tradition. Ang mga pari daw or priest ay pwede mag-asawa at magkapamilya, habang ang mga babae naman ay pwede din pumasok sa pagpapari.
And that is the priests and the priestesses of Shintoism. And Angelica Pabustan will discuss the ethics and values of Shintoism.
Shinto ethics and value. Shinto ethics are unique in that they do not rely on the rigid of commandments or law dictating behavior. Rather, They center around aligning oneself with the will of the Kimi. Followers of Shinto strive to live in the harmony with the Kimi's way, maintaining a balanced relationship with them. Ang etika o halaga ng Shintoism ay hindi lang siya nakatuon sa mga utos o batas kagaya ng ibang relihiyon. Sa halip, ang mga ito ay nakatuon sa pagsunod sa kanilang tradisyon, ritual at pakikipag-ugnayan sa kalikasan at mga espiritu. Crucial to note that Kimi are not considered flawless. Shinto teaching include instances of Kimi making errors or acting inappropriately. This distinction from faiths with a perfect deity likely contributes to Shinto ethics' avoidance of absolute moral regulation. The overarching goals of Shinto ethics are to foster harmony and purity in all aspects of life. Purity encompasses not only spiritual but also moral purity, emphasizing a sincere and untainted heart. Shinto lacks fixed moral absolutes and instead evaluates the morality of action or thoughts within their specific contents. Circumstances, intention, purpose, timing, and location are all factors. Consider it determining the morality of an action. So, pinapakita ng Shintoism ang tamang pag-uugali at moralidad ay mas nanggagaling sa pakikipag-ugnayan sa kalikasan at kanilang paniniwala kaysa sa pagsunod lang sa mga utos o batas. Ito din ay nagbibigay daan sa pagkakaiba-iba ng mga practice ng moralidad at etika sa bawat individual o komunidad na naniniwala sa Shinto.
And that is all for the ethics and values of Shintoism. And Ronel Walikan will introduce us into the Shinto and Japanese culture.
Shinto and Japanese culture. Shinto religion characterized by polytheism and animism centers on divine being known as the kami. These kami are thought to reside within everything from natural phenomena to significant geographical sites. They receive reverence and worship at Kamidana, household shrines and family shrines, and public jinja shrines. Over the course of millennia, Japan's cultural landscape has undergone significant transformation, evolving from the ancient Jomon period to its present-day modern culture, which embraces influence from Asia and beyond. Since ancient times, various ancestral groups such as the Yayoi and Gonfal, migrating from Korea and China, respectively, have played pivotal roles in shaping Japanese culture. The introduction of rice cultivation and centralized governance profoundly influenced the development of Japanese society. Additionally, Chinese dynasties, notably the Tang Dynasty, have exerted lasting influence on Japan's cultural development. Following a period of isolation lasting over 2 centuries, the Meiji era marked Japan's opening to Western influence, further enriching and The Meiji era marked Japan's opening to Western influence, further enriching and diversifying its culture landscape today. Contemporary Japanese culture, as reflected in its popular culture, demonstrates its significant impact on global culture trends.
And that is all for Shinto and Japanese culture. And Frankie Pangilinan will introduce us into the Shinto in a modern society.
Relationship with the state. Throughout history, Shintoism has been closely linked to Japanese government, especially during the imperial era. Although religion and state remain separate in Japan, Shintoism still plays a significant cultural and ceremonial role in government operations. For example, imperial ceremonies as fundamental part of Japan's imperial traditions, Shinto rituals, and ceremonies, such as the emperor's wedding and the Nenamesai Harvest Festival strengthen the bond between the ruler and the divine. State Shinto. The government once supported state Shinto, which placed a strong emphasis on the emperor's divinity and the unification of the country. Shinto symbols and rituals were outlawed after World War II, but they are still used in governmental ceremonies. Education, rather than through official religious interaction, moral and cultural education is the main way that Shintoism influenced education in Japan. Public schools maintain secularism, yet they frequently include aspects of Shinto customs and principles in their curricula and ceremonies. School visits to Shinto shrines, like Tokyo's Meiji Shrine, are typical and give children a chance to learn about Japanese customs, beliefs, and culture. Moral education programs for moral education frequently incorporate Shinto values such as reverence for the natural world, one's ancestors, and one's community in order to promote a feeling of cultural heritage and national identity. Public life. Shintoism still permits many facets of public life in modern Japan, impacting social norms, holidays, and cultural practices. Rituals and holidays. Shinto holidays such as Hatsumode, the shrine visit for the New Year, and Shichi-Gosan, the shrine visit for children, are observed across the country, demonstrating the continuous significance of Shinto tradition and family and communal life. Cultural identity. Throughout Japan's urban and rural landscapes, Shinto symbols like torii gates and shiminiwa, holy ropes, are commonplace, acting as visual codes of the nation's religious and cultural history.
Well said by Frankie Pangilinan, and Dylan will discuss the interfaith dialogue and global of the Shinto.
Interfaith Dialogue and Global Shinto. The Congress of the Leader World and the Traditional Religion has been in Kazakhstan for over 20 years. Every 3 years, leader religion that are the following globally are as the tradition of the particular nation, gender, and image, and dialogue between their faiths and civilization. I am deeply grateful that we have had this opportunity. Our religion, Shinto, is the traditional religion of the Japan, and while it is practiced by more people than any others religion with Japan is scarcely now outside our borders. Sacred texts, strict documents, and interest in symbolism. It is the render index blended into the daily life culture of the Japanese and is one of the success of the spirit, philosophy, and identity of the Japanese people. Further, Shinto is sacred mystery, the transcend human understanding in the fire and water, the sun and moon, the wind and the earth, and in all things. These mysteries are venerated as kami, and ceremony calling Matsuri of Shinto have time and again come of nature and praying for abundant harvest and during peace. In this way, the Far Eastern Inland nation now as Japan has been bound together through a spirit of gratitude to the kami and a religion practice that prizes harmony.
Conclusion and reflection will be discussed by Carlo Viloria.
Conclusion and reflection, origin and nature. Shinto is Japan's indigenous religion, meaning it arose from the cultural practices and beliefs of the Japanese people. It's considered a nature religion emphasizing reverence for a natural world. Diversity. Shinto lacks a central authority, leading to diverse practices and beliefs among the practitioners, encouraging further exploration. Shinto offers a rich cultural and spiritual experience. Here are ways to deepen your understanding. Practices and rituals. Shinto emphasizes maintaining harmony with the kami through various practices like offerings, providing food and drink to the kami at shrines. Purification rituals. Cleansing oneself to maintain a state of purity and avoid displeasing the kami. Festivals. Matsuri. Vibrant celebration held to the honor the kami and express gratitude. Kami. Shinto revolves around the concept of kami, which are spirit or deities believed to inhabit all aspects of nature, from mountain and rivers to animals, and even abstract ideas. Engage with tradition. Consider participating in cultural activities or festivals related to Shinto. If possible, however, Shinto's significance extends far beyond mere knowledge. It's a cultural heritage that has shaped Japan's identity for centuries. Here's why respecting and preserving Shinto is vital. Visit shrines, witness Shinto rituals and architecture firsthand at Shinto shrines. Study. Explore books, articles, and documentaries about Shinto history, beliefs, and practices. Understanding a culture. Engaging with Shinto fosters cross-cultural understanding and appreciation for a unique belief system that enrich our global tapestry. Therefore, our journey with Shinto shouldn't end here. We are encouraged to appreciation for nature. Shinto emphasis on respecting the natural world serves as a powerful reminder of our responsibility towards the environment. Enduring traditions. Shinto practices and rituals represent a living link to the past, offering us a window into the cultural and spiritual foundation of Japan. Appreciation deepen your understanding. As I highlighted earlier, actively explore Shinto. Support preservation efforts. Many organizations dedicate themselves to safeguarding historical Shinto sites and ensuring the continuation of cultural practices. Consider contributing to their endeavors. Approach Shinto with respect. This includes acknowledging the significance of its tradition and treating sacred space like shrines with a proper reverence.
And that is all for Shintoism. I hope you learned something.